Ladies and gentlemen, Vanderbilt University welcomes the class of 2021 and all transfer students to this year's Founders Walk. Please welcome Vanessa Beasley, Dean of the Commons.
Good evening. My name is Vanessa Beasley, and it is my honor to serve as the Dean of the Martha Rivers Ingram Commons. It is also my honor to welcome you to Founders Walk. Our focus this evening is on you, the students who have accepted our invitation to join us here at Vanderbilt University. To the members of the class of 2021, as well as to the transfer students, we are so... Nice. We are so glad that you are finally here. Our short program this evening will include remarks from the President of the Alumni Association Board of Directors, Perry Brandt, Vanderbilt Student Government, President Jaime Cox, our Provost, Susan Wente, who will also serve as this year Honorary Faculty Head of House for our transfer students, and the Chancellor of our beloved university, Nicholas Zeppos. We will also meet our wonderful faculty heads of house. Now, before we move forward with tonight's program, I'd like to thank a few people who made this week possible, but I'd also like for you for a moment just to consider how many people it took to welcome you this weekend. Yesterday morning, you met our move-in crew, over 1,000 volunteers of Vanderbilt student, staff, and administrators who chose to get up before dawn in some cases to greet you and your families. And then you met our faculty heads of house and RAs and residential education staff who will truly be your companions throughout your first year. Earlier today, you met your ViewCeptors and transfer student leaders who've been planning and training for your arrival for months now. And through it all, we have all been well fed and taken care of by Vanderbilt Dining and Catering and all the people from plant operations who made sure that we had everything we needed, tables, chairs, and tents, to enjoy each other's company. Now, Plan Ops even made for you, the class of 2021, a special present. That giant anchor currently located in front of the Commons Center before it moves to another location. They made that for you. Let's give all of them a hand. And now for my remarks, the first time I'll speak to you gathered as a class. Now, I know that your arrival at Vanderbilt is the culmination of many long months, maybe years, of research, trips, and late-night discussions with friends and family. Time and time again, there was one question everyone asked you: where will you go to college? You were asked this question a lot, and I bet you can still remember how happy you were the day that you finally knew the answer: Vanderbilt University. But now that you have decided where you will go to college, I'm going to ask you a different question. How will you go to college? How will you spend each day here? Will the way you organize your time show us your values, commitments, and passions? Will your daily schedule count as evidence of what really matters to you? Will you put first things first, however you define those priorities? And will you be open to adjusting those priorities over the course of your education here, especially as you hear new ideas and challenging perspectives? How are you going to treat other people while you're here? Will you treat everyone you meet with respect, even if he or she or they have different beliefs or come from a very different background from yours? When you meet other people, will you be ready to hear their stories, to ask about their ideas, to learn something just by listening to them, even if you do not agree. How are you going to imagine your obligations to this larger community? Now, most of us spend our adolescence focused almost exclusively on ourselves, and that's developmentally appropriate when you're in high school. But matriculating at a university means that you're entering a new stage of your own development. And it is now time to start asking yourself, what are my commitments to others? What do I need to do to serve the larger community? Many Vanderbilt students foster these commitments through involvement with student organizations, and many do so by looking off campus, locally, nationally, and sometimes even globally for opportunities to serve. Many students do both, serve on campus and off. There's no one approach that will work for everyone, but what really matters today is that you start thinking about that question. How are you going to contribute to something much larger than yourself? Now, from my perspective, of course, the Ingram Commons is the perfect place to start asking each other these questions. On the Ingram Commons, we are always challenging each other and seeking to learn from each other in our triumphs as well as in our setbacks. You're here now to be part of all of that. You're here now, and this evening shows our happiness about your arrival as well as our eagerness to start our work together. You're finally here now, and just so it sticks, I'm going to ask you that question one more time. Now that you've chosen where you're going to college, how are you going to go to college? I want us to answer that question together this year. Let's share our answers and show them to each other through presence, bravery, civility, kindness, integrity, and care for each other. Practice both as individuals and as a community. If we do that together, Vanderbilt will continue to be the place you dreamed it would be when you made the choice to come here. It will be a place that makes a difference in who you are and in who you're going to be. But it will also be something more. If you do that with me this year, even Vanderbilt will be changed and made stronger by the choices you've made. And when we meet here again as a class in May 2021, when you graduate, we will all be able to see the difference you made by thinking about how you went to college here every single day, starting right now. Thank you. And now it's my very real pleasure to introduce to you Perry Brandt, President of the Vanderbilt Alumni Association.
Hello, everyone. I'm Perry Brandt, President of the Alumni Association. 47 years ago, I sat where you're sitting and started my Vanderbilt experience. And I'm here to tell you tonight that Vanderbilt is indeed for life. And on behalf of 139,000 alumni worldwide, I'd like to welcome you all to Vanderbilt. Anchor down. So, you're probably asking yourself, why is the alumni guy up there? We just started. But the fact is, you've all had interaction with alumni already. Many of you are legacies. You have parents or family members who've gone to Vanderbilt. A number of you interviewed with Vanderbilt alums during the application process, and a number of you attended summer send-off parties in your respective cities before you came. But it doesn't stop there. There are plenty of opportunities to interact with alumni here while you're here. You may have alumni who are guest lecturers in some of your classes. You may take an internship with an alum. You may belong to a shared interest group with alumni. Our alumni relations staff have come up with a lot of different ways for you, while you're students, to interact with alumni. And I can tell you it's a very profitable thing, not only now, but in the future when you set out on your careers in the real world. We have some really, really interesting programs. I'm just going to talk about a few. One is called Opening Doors, which is family-style dinners with alums to get career advice and talk about the future. They're here in Nashville while you're in school, but you can have these same opportunities in your respective home cities during the summers or maybe wherever you have an internship. We also have a number of other programs to help you prepare for your transition to the real world. For example, there's a class called Money 101 that helps you manage your money in the future. I came down in April and taught etiquette class, go figure. And we also have the Student Alumni Board, where 10 representatives of each class can meet with alumni relations staff and think of even more and better ways for students and alumni to interact. So go to vuconnect.com and check out all the different ways you as students can interact with alums. So again, welcome to the best university in the nation. Welcome to classes with the best professors in the nation. And welcome to school with the best students in the nation. And as we all know, the happiest students in the nation. But just remember, while you're here, you are all alumni in training, because Vanderbilt is for life. It's my great opportunity now to introduce you to your student government president, Jaime Cox. Jaime?
Good evening, class of 2021 and transfer students. Welcome to an exciting new chapter in your lives. My name is Jaime Cox, and I have the pleasure and honor of serving as your student body president for the 2017-2018 academic year. The Vanderbilt community welcomes you to our family and wishes you well as you begin your journey on our great campus. As I contemplated what I would say to you today, I reflected on the emotions that I felt when I was sitting in your shoes. I remembered the joy that came over me as I walked through the maze of organizations and the excitement I felt and anticipated for the events ahead. I remembered being nervous about classes and overwhelmed with all of the information from pamphlets, packets, and emails. But most of all, I remembered being afraid that I didn't belong. I felt like every person that I met had been president of multiple clubs, the top of their class, and had received perfect test scores. To be honest, I wasn't much different. I was used to standing out too, but the thought of being like everyone else, no, worse, the thought of not being as good as everyone else frightened me. The thing that I wanted to know most was how to be successful at Vanderbilt. I wish I could provide you with the answer to that today, but throughout my time here, I've realized there isn't a concrete one. There are many, many ways to find success, but the key is discovering exactly what that means to you. What I can tell you about success is that it isn't being at the top of your class, president of multiple clubs, or receiving perfect test scores. These accomplishments are outstanding, but if done without self-care, they can do more harm to your future than good. On a campus full of high achievers, the pressures to excel can be daunting. My charge to you is to focus not on measuring your own success, but to instead focus on finding your own path at Vanderbilt. Throughout the next few weeks, your transfer orientation leaders and VU Scepters will introduce you to campus resources like the Office of Student Leadership, Psychological and Counseling Center, and the Center for Student Wellbeing. You will meet RAs and organization leaders who will become your mentors. You will find professors and tutors to guide you in your classes, and you will form bonds with your new peers. Success comes not without hard work, but when times get hard, these relationships will carry you forward. My first word of advice to you is to remember that the journey to achieving your goals doesn't have to be made alone. You're probably tired of hearing that college is about finding yourself and the age to discover who you are. I'll join the choir and emphasize that this is really true, but my second piece of advice to you comes as a simple phrase: do you? At Vanderbilt, the opportunity to explore your passions are endless, and it's not hard to find other people who share them. If it's art, do you. Greek life, do you. Don't worry about conforming to a campus culture. This is your campus now. Define it for yourself. A great method of self-discovery is exploration. You each have come from different backgrounds and communities. Some of you traveling from entirely different parts of the world. This diversity of thought is Vanderbilt's greatest asset. In a time where our differences are dividing us more than ever, I urge you to take advantage of the opportunity to embrace them. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. My high school, hey St. Louis, I heard you. My high school was in the inner city, and it was 99% African American. When I told people I was coming to Vanderbilt, many questioned me, saying that I didn't belong here. I'll admit, there were times when I feared they may be right, but then I remembered what I share with you now. You were accepted because you belong at Vanderbilt. Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. You're capable of being successful because you already possess the tools to do so. You've earned the seat beneath you through your own hard work. You deserve to be here. By just doing you, you will find success. I now have the pleasure of introducing Chancellor Zeppos, who is equally excited to welcome you to the Vanderbilt community. But before I do, I'd also like to offer myself as a resource. Feel free to reach out to me, say hi when you see me on campus, and follow me on social media. That's gonna be at JAMICMICHELE, Jamie C. Michelle, all handles, that's right. And one more thing before I forget. North House! North House! Great. That being said, anchor down, go Doris.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much for that great introduction and that spirited closing there. And thank you for your wonderful service to Vanderbilt. And I know in the year ahead, we'll do great things together and face challenges and make the university better with your help. Thank you so much. I also want to thank the administration who worked so hard and the staff to put this together, and students and faculty who came to cheer us on. That's the most attention that I've ever gotten in my life. And it is a way of really saying welcome to our community. I want to welcome the class of 2021. I want to welcome our wonderful transfer students. And yeah, anchor down, baby. All right. We are thrilled that you are members of our community. I am thrilled to be here on this journey with you. I know sometimes Vanderbilt seems like a big, complex university, but get to know each other. I'll try to get to know as many of you as I can in the journey that we have together. I know, and I can already discover from talking to many of you, that each one of you has a beautiful story, a remarkable story, the story of hard work that brought you here, sacrifices that you and family members made to get you here, and the hopes and the dreams and goals that you have for this transformational step in your life's journeys. Each one of you, remember, has a unique story, and it should be shared with everybody. As vastly as those stories are, vastly different as they are, there is one commonality. We all chose Vanderbilt. We all chose Vanderbilt. You had many choices. You're talented. You could have gone to school many places, and you all chose Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is a place with great traditions, and it is a university that is widely recognized worldwide as one of the great research universities in the world. Some of our buildings are new, but many of them are old. We cherish historic architecture. Even when we build a new building, as you see going up, it'll be ready for your next year. We want it to look old. We want it to capture the traditions of these other buildings. But at the same time, as we recognize these traditions, like Founders Walk, we have to recognize that you yourselves are Vanderbilt. That in many ways, every class that comes in, all the students who come in, you are Vanderbilt founders. You in your years here, you in your activity as alumni will be founders. You will shape the present and the future of Vanderbilt. So while we celebrate our founder, I think we are all responsible in many ways for the wonderful opportunities to make Vanderbilt much, much better. We are a premier research institution that attracts scholars from across the nation, and like you, from across the nation and across the world. Here, you'll have the opportunity not simply to learn from them, but importantly with them in research, in laboratories, in small discussion sections. And as somebody who has been on the faculty of Vanderbilt for 31 years, we learn as much from you as professors as you do from us. We are a diverse learning environment. We celebrate those differences. We recognize the beauty that comes from all the diversity in our nation and in our world. And we find that that gives us strength. That is really the source of our excellence. That is really the source of our ability to discover. Sometimes we'll have very different views and discuss very difficult topics. We value a variety of opinions. They inspire us to say, I never saw it that way. I hadn't thought of thinking about it that way. I did not know about that. I had my facts wrong. That's what we think a great university is about. Discourse, reason, and treating each other with mutual respect and civility. I think many of you chose Vanderbilt because of the great academics, but I think for our culture of mutual respect, our culture of helping each other, our culture, indeed, our emotional love for each other as we go about doing our work on this campus. Our commitment to this principle is unyielding. It is the lifeblood of the university. But surely it carries even greater weight, and more importance with the horrible, tragic violence and hatred driven by racism and bigotry in Charlottesville and at the University of Virginia. We join with our colleagues and our friends in Virginia and across the nation, and indeed across the whole globe, in solidarity of our commitment to diversity, to inclusion, to respect for others, I will say love for others, and a strong belief in civil discourse in all situations, but especially when those differences arise. At Vanderbilt, there's always room for a new idea, tough discussions, but there is never room for racism or bigotry or discrimination in any form. As I look at all of you gathered, thank you. As I look at all of you gathered here today, I can see that this process of cultivating appreciation for one another, recognizing the gifts that each of us brings, has already begun. That you look around the lawn now, you walk through your residence halls, and you see so much beautiful diversity and so many interesting people. Throughout your time at Vanderbilt, I know this sense of respect and appreciation for one another will flourish, it will grow. It will be the source of great joy and indeed sadness when you walk across this stage in several years for commencement. It is those friendships. It is meeting the people that make an impact in your life. It is reaching out to different people and leaving and saying, my best friends are people I had no idea would be my best friends. And importantly, we'll have thought-provoking discussions. We'll strike a balance between the great passion that you have, but the reason that we use on a college campus, the very currency that allows us to be trusted in an era where there's so much distrust of knowledge and institutions. And we'll have fun. We'll have great fun on this path together. As was mentioned, Princeton Review is once again telling us that Vanderbilt has the happiest students. And I aim to have that trophy retired. I would also add, importantly, they also said we had the second best financial aid. And I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer when you throw the gates of Vanderbilt open to talented, diverse, wonderful individuals, call it Opportunity Vanderbilt, we only then truly become a university that can claim to be great and claim to make people happy. So as we go forward after Founders Walk, I want to remind you that there are only 2 times that I get to talk to you as a class. This time and graduation, when you will stand there and there'll be a mark and you'll walk across the stage and I'll extend my hand, and we're told not to hug, but sometimes it's just irresistible. But those are the 2 times that I get to speak to you. To commemorate the beginning of the journey, I actually bought you a little gift. The gift is under your chair, and as you look around the campus and you look at the Vanderbilt mark, you realize it's the symbol of our university, the symbol of an acorn, which matures into a towering oak. And we have many on the campus, and that's why sometimes we're called Squirrel U as well. Acorns are important for the strength symbolized by the oak, but they're even more important because of the seed. The acorn represents the potential of that tree's strength and beauty and resilience through wind and rain and storms. The Commodore never visited Nashville, but he acted on faith and he planted a very expensive $1 million acorn in the ground. That was his founding gifts. And if there's any doubt about the importance of what he said he wanted done, let's remind us of ourselves of this at Founders Walk. And let's think of this every day when we realize we're named after Commodore Vanderbilt. He said in his founding gift that I would hope to mend the wounds of the Civil War, that he would bring our nation together and thereby strengthen our nation and make the world a much better place. When we invited you to join the class at Vanderbilt, we saw in each and every one of you, the great potential to grow from acorn to oak and to take every day seriously the charge that I will work to heal wounds. I will work to create justice. I will work to make our nation one. I hope this, I can imagine as several years hence, walking across the stage and someone puts their hand out and the little acorn might be in there. We could call that a regifting. But I do hope that as you are studying for tests, as you're writing papers, looking at that blank screen, as the formula before you blurs even more and looks totally beyond comprehension, you look at the acorn and you realize that it's you who has the promise. It's you who has the potential to do great things. Your years here as a student, they're just beginning. Your Vanderbilt story, it's like a novel, and it's got a lot of chapters yet unwritten. Chapters of great things, chapters of drama, chapters of facing challenges, but a beautiful book, a lovely journey, and that one begins today, but for me often sadly ends when you walk across this stage. As Perry Brandt said, we think of you beginning now, but you are the founders. You are Vanderbilt for life. So thank you very much. I look forward to these years ahead. We'll have a great time. And with that, let me introduce our Chief Academic Officer, Susan Wente. Susan is in charge of everything relating to scholarship, research, and service. And the provost and members of her team are always here to provide guidance and support for all of you at Vanderbilt. Susan?
Thank you, Chancellor Zeppos. Really, your words touched all of us today and inspire us to really be true to the Creed's principle here at Vanderbilt of caring and civility. In my role as provost, I really look at my opportunity to talk to you as being on behalf of all the faculty at Vanderbilt. And I want to convey to you a couple simple messages from those faculty, not just the faculty heads of house, but all the faculty in all the schools and colleges. And that is, welcome. The faculty are eagerly awaiting you, coming into the classroom, seeing you on campus, welcoming you into every aspect of Vanderbilt life. That's true for our first-year students and for our transfer students. Yeah. Especially proud of that transfer student crowd since I'm the honorary faculty head of house tonight for the transfer students. You rock, all 200 of you. We're so glad that all of you are here joining us as Commodores. And there are multiple resources for the transfer students, the Office of Transition Programs, as well as for every student who's here. You're all going to get settled into your new home, and I encourage you, just as you've heard from Dean Beasley, just as you've heard from your student body president, Jaime Cox, and from the chancellor, to connect with as many individuals as possible to ensure that your transition is really a seamless one. So speaking to you tonight on behalf of all the faculty, I want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into academic life in many different ways. Now, of course, you're eagerly anticipating your first classes, and I encourage you to embrace your studies with enthusiasm. I'm sure those are the last words your parents said to you as they left today, too, right? But at no other time in your life will you be able to explore your intellectual curiosities so easily. Really, the whole university is wide open to you. Throughout your coursework, you're going to participate in numerous class discussions, you're going to lead group projects, and you're going to form meaningful relationships with our world-class faculty. Beyond your classes, I also know you're going to be living and learning here on campus. There are so many opportunities that extend beyond the classroom walls and to our campus overall. You can choose to study abroad. You can choose to go to the Wondery and investigate entrepreneurism and innovation. You can conduct research in laboratories. You can publish your writing. You can hold an internship. You can perform in a recital. Or you can lead a student organization. Now, you may not want to try to do all those things. Part of that is about making choices. But because you're here at Vanderbilt, you're going to be able to investigate all of those in many different ways. Part of it is because we have 10 schools and colleges. You may have noticed the flags as you were walking through the balloon arches. We refer to this as one Vanderbilt, all 10 schools and colleges. you'll come to learn that what One Vanderbilt means is that we offer you a truly synergized university where you can easily attend a lecture at the Divinity School, or visit the law library, or explore research opportunities with faculty in the School of Medicine. All the while, where you're getting your degree in one of our 4 leading undergraduate schools, or maybe even double majoring across 2 of those schools and taking classes seamlessly back and forth amongst them. That's truly what makes us uniquely One Vanderbilt. Now, given all that's available to you, I told you you're going to have to make choices, and it's also a perfect time for you to test yourself, to challenge yourself, while you're pursuing your passions, as we all keep speaking about. At Vanderbilt, we're all on this journey together. I want to really emphasize that we believe in a reciprocal learning community where the faculty, the staff, and the students are all learning from each other and with each other. It's not a two-way street. The faculty are learning from you. You're contributing to the discovery mission with every opportunity that you have to interact with them. I encourage you to gather your friends, your hallmates, and with your faculty heads of houses to reflect on your experiences and your aspirations as you make this journey. Now, I bet that when you share your insights and your interests from your classes, you'll find that in your learning communities, you'll hear other perspectives, and you're going to gain exposures to views from people across the world. This will all enrich your learning experience even more. Now, when you're exploring these new fields of study and you're testing new waters, some that we've said you're going to be in uncharted territory depending upon what you decide to do, I really want you to remember what I mean by saying you're going to be challenged. You're all tremendously accomplished, and I know you'll be able to step up to whatever those challenges might be. But you might also realize that you want to change your mind about something. You might have to deal with a mistake that you made. But doing that, accepting that challenge, realizing that you've made a mistake and where to go for help, and realizing that you have opportunity to change your mind is what our Vanderbilt community is very welcoming and receptive to. You have to remember you're not alone in this journey. I'll tell you, when I started as a freshman, it was less than a week later that I changed my major and I changed my entire course schedule. I don't want to scare you with that, but if it happens to you, you will not be alone. You can reach out to other students, you can reach out to your RAs, you can reach out to your faculty heads of house, and more so you can reach out to your advisors and your faculty. I guarantee you that we will be there with you to help you be resilient and to help you overcome hurdles that you may encounter. We all lean on each other, and we all look forward to helping you make this path and journey together. The Vanderbilt community cares about you deeply. If I say it again, you will be supported throughout this entire path here at Vanderbilt. I look forward to meeting many of you throughout the course of the year. I'm going to see you at countless events. We always have something going on at Vanderbilt. You can absolutely guarantee that. And I come in the spring to all the Commons houses, and I also visit with all the student organizations. I'll be excited about hearing what your first impressions are, and more so, I'll be excited about hearing about how you're finding your passion and how you're making your path here on campus. So thank you for being here, and I want to now turn back over the podium to Dean Vanessa Beasley. She is one of our world-class faculty members, as well as being Dean of the Commons, and she's going to share in your Commons experience. Please join me in welcoming her back to the podium. Dean Beasley.
Thank you, Provost Wente. We are now to the portion of the program when it's my pleasure to introduce the 10 faculty heads of house. But before I do that, I want to share I have a little concern. I'm concerned that we haven't yet sufficiently recognized or maybe heard from the transfer students. So before we talk about all 10 heads of house, let's hear it for the transfer students. We are so glad you chose to be with us here. Thank you for coming to Vanderbilt. Now, houses, you can decide how vocal you want to be in showing your support for your faculty head and your house. I'll leave that up to you, but you might follow their example. First, to my far left, Catherine McTammany, faculty head of Crawford House. Associate Professor of the Practice and Director of Undergraduate Studies for the Department of Teaching and Learning. Professor McTammany has been a student, alumna, or faculty member at Vanderbilt for the last 27 years, although that may be the only consistent factor in her professional life since her days as a resident of West House. Hey! Dr. McTammany has been a high school teacher, a preschool teacher, a school director, an inmate educator, a professor, a writer, an international lecturer, and now teaches the same first-year Peabody lecture class she took in the fall of 1990. She has tried to learn to juggle 3 times and 4 times to learn how to knit, and she says she still can't do either of those things without hurting herself or someone else. She's confident that Vanderbilt will be a place where each of you will also define, redefine, and refine your own path, and she welcomes you to Crawford House to pet the dogs, build with Lego, or help prepare the biscotti for the weekly play dates. Professor McTammany. It's now my pleasure to introduce Professor Danielle Gervais, faculty head of East House. Professor Gervais is also Milton R. Underwood Chair in Law, a professor in French, director of the Vanderbilt Intellectual Property Program, and the director of the Vanderbilt LLM program. He is also editor-in-chief of the Journal of World Intellectual Property. Prior to joining Vanderbilt, he was the acting dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Ottawa in Canada. Before he joined the Academy, Professor Gervais was a legal scholar at the GATT, now known as the World Trade Organization, head of the section at the World Intellectual Property Organization, and vice president of Copyright Clearance Center Incorporated. In 2012, he was elected to the Academy of Europe. He is a member of the American Law Institute and, as of 2015, President-elect of the International Association for the Advancement of Teaching and Research in Intellectual Property. He has authored 12 books, edited 7, published 72 articles, and 45 other publications on various aspects of intellectual property law, economic development, human rights, and the relationship between law, technology, and society. He speaks French and Spanish, some German, and is currently learning Italian. Professor Gervais. Frank Dobson, faculty head of Gillette House. Dr. Dobson is Associate Dean of Students and Director of the Posse Program. Dr. Dobson is an author of many books and plays, most recently the title book Rendered Invisible, Stories of Blacks and Whites, Love and Death. He is a leader in the African American communities in both Vanderbilt and Nashville, and one of Vanderbilt's most respected teachers and mentors. He also teaches at nearby Fisk University. Dr. D, as he is lovingly known, is an active participant in community service, and Gillette House is very well known for its after-school tutoring programs throughout the city. His apartment, which he shares with his wife, Dee Dobson, is home to dinners, films, poetry readings, discussions, and Gillette's weekly study break, Gillette Gelato. Dr. Frank Dobson. Edwin Williamson, faculty head of Hank Ingram House. Dr. Williamson is assistant professor of psychiatry in the School of Medicine. He divides his professional life between a clinical practice as a child and adolescent psychiatrist, administrator as the program director of the Child and Adolescent Psychiatry Fellowship Program here at Vanderbilt, and academic pursuits in the field of graduate medical and psychiatry education. Dr. Williamson lives in Hank Ingram House with his wife, the Reverend Melissa Smith, and their 3 boys. Hank House will host social and academic events celebrating the diversity and great growth and development of all of its residents in all areas of their lives during the first year of college. Dr. Williamson, Hank House. Kevin Leander, faculty head of Memorial House. Woo. Professor Leander is associate professor in the Department of Teaching and Learning in Peabody College and an affiliated faculty member in the Department of English. Professor Leander was recently married and lives in Memorial with his bride, Ana de Silva, who is professor in the Department of Teaching and Learning. Living with them is their son, Mitchell. 5 elder children from their blended family also come to visit from time to time with their random dogs and cats and friends. Professor Leander's research in literacy education is addressed to changes currently and historically happening in literacy through social media, and specifically how these changes affect our experience of the social world, and how we might design questions about how and why new hybrid digital physical spaces for learning could be developed. Professor Leander loves travel, nature, running, live music, yoga, poetry, and his wife's pasta. Memorial House features weekly s'mores at social gatherings, meals in the Leanders' apartments, discussions, and extensive community service. Professor Leander of Memorial House. Dr. Alyssa Hasty, faculty head of Murray House. Dr. Hasty is professor of molecular physiology and biophysics and associate dean for faculty development in the basic sciences of the School of Medicine. Professor Hasty's laboratory team focuses on understanding how obesity increases risk for diabetes as well as other metabolic diseases. Dr. Hasty completed her PhD at Vanderbilt, her postdoctoral work at Tokyo University, and joined the Vanderbilt faculty in 2003. Dr. Hasty has been married to her high school sweetheart, Alan, for 26 years. Their daughter and son-in-law, Allison and Chase, were both athletes here at Vanderbilt and are now proud parents of the most beautiful child, Ava. Yes, Professor Hasty is a grandmother. Dr. Hasty is very interested in wellness, and you might find yourself joining her weekend runners group, weightlifting or yoga groups, or talking about other ways to achieve whole wellness. Murray residents will focus on who they are becoming, not just what they are studying while at Vanderbilt. Professor Alyssa Hasty of Murray House. Professor Gregory Melker-Bars, faculty head of North House. Professor Melker Bars is professor of ethnomusicology in the Blair School of Music. Professor Bars, or P. Bars, as he is affectionately known within Norris House, and I think also around campus, is an ethnomusicologist whose academic research and scholarship connect global music and global health. His annual field research in Africa and the Middle East around issues of HIV/AIDS, genocide, global health, and queer culture has led, among other accomplishments, to the publication of 11 books, a Grammy nomination, summertime research partnership with Vanderbilt undergraduates, and a reputation for being one of the university's most dedicated scholars and citizens. P. Bars believes strongly in the faculty's ability to foster classrooms without walls, and he promotes expansive living and learning in his home in North House. A recent Fulbright scholar, P. Bars is currently working on a project related to Jewish and Palestinian relations played out in drag clubs in Tel Aviv. He lives in North House with his husband Will and their daughter Lucy, and as you've undoubtedly heard, they all ensure that North House rocks. Professor Roosevelt Nobel, faculty head of Stambaugh House. Professor Nobel is senior lecturer in the Department of Sociology and assistant dean of students and director of the Bishop Joseph Johnson Black Cultural Center. Professor Nobel originally came to Nashville as a member of the Vanderbilt football team in 1994. 3 degrees and 23 years later, he is still here. In addition to teaching as a senior lecturer in the sociology department, Dr. Nobel spent much of his professional career as a director with the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. A scholar of the American criminal justice system, his research area focuses on prison violence, racial disparities in mass incarceration, and racial bias in capital punishment. Dr. Nobel is excited about being on the Commons because it provides an opportunity at the grassroots level to bring to fruition Vanderbilt's goal to make all students feel important, valued, and included. He and his family, Dr. Kristen Nobel, their daughter Jordan, and their son Roosevelt III, look forward to making Stambaugh a place where inclusive curiosity fosters a lifetime of memories and friendship. Dr. Nobel. Professor Shalene Homuth, faculty head of Sutherland House. All right. Professor Homuth is senior lecturer in the Department of Spanish and Portuguese. Professor Homuth teaches Latin American literature and Spanish language courses and directs service learning study abroad programs throughout Central America. Her research interests include narrative and identity, tourism and sustainability, and the development of cultural competencies within study abroad contexts. She is the author of 2 books on contemporary Latin American literature and culture. Her partner, Dr. Christy Halbert, is a visiting scholar in the Department of Sociology. She was an assistant coach of the U.S. boxing team at the London Olympics and consults internationally on the sport of Olympic boxing. They live with their daughter Ella, a junior in high school, in La Casa Sutherland, where the weekly cafecito coffee hours are not to be missed. Professor Shalene Homuth, Sutherland House. Professor Christophe Zeller, faculty head of West House. faculty head of house, Zeller is an associate professor of German and of European studies. His research focuses on literature, media, culture, and society. Current projects explore the nature of values and the future of collecting in the digital age. He has lived and worked in 4 different countries, speaks several languages, regularly leads study abroad programs, and always encourages students to celebrate cultural differences. Professor Zeller is happy to be part of the Commons community and to be a faculty mentor at Vanderbilt, helping students to grow professionally and personally. He and his family, his wife Amy, a speech-language pathologist, their daughters Marlo and Eva, and their cat Juniper, see West House as a fun place to live, a hub for new ideas, and a refuge from some of the demands of academic life. Professor Zeller. Will you join me with all of us together giving them a huge round of applause for their commitment to our community? And now, it's my great honor to invite the Vanderbilt Concert Choir to take the stage to lead us in the alma mater.
On the city's western border, reared against the sky, proudly stands our alma mater as the years roll by. Forward ever be thy watchword, conquer and prevail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, Vanderbilt. All hail. Cherished by thy sons and daughters, memory sweet shall throng round our hearts, O alma mater, as we sing our song. Forward ever be thy watchword, conquer and prevail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, Vanderbilt. All
Wasn't that beautiful? Thank you so much. This concludes the evening's program, and now we will dismiss and gather again on the Commons for dinner on the lawn. We'll see you back home. Good night.